We got choppers now? Wait, 11's taking down a chopper with mine?
Volume 2 of Stranger Things managed to pack everything we love about the series into 2 compact little episodes. We're taking a look inside the hive mind at how they managed to pull off their most intense episodes to date.
It's going to feel very different. It's going to feel very big. It'll be like season 1, on steroids or something.
Number 1. It's no secret that the cast of Stranger Things is top-notch. Well, our favorite cast of kids, young adults, are also phenomenal improvisers. From witty, quotable new lines to subtle little changes, the urgency and honesty these actors bring is next level. Like Caleb McLaughlin crying out to his sister. It's a sweet and tragic moment of vulnerability for Lucas. Another pretty super moment was Finn's improvisation during his monologue, which he only needed to shoot a few times, by the way, because he's a true pro.
You're my superhero!
And the brotherly love is in the air between Eddie Munson and Dustin Henderson.
I love you, man.
This tear-jerking moment was all gut instinct.
Our stuff together is so poignant and important to driving his character.
Number 2. Behind the scenes of the Creel house had far fewer tripping hazards.
It's like hopscotch over imaginary vines.
Trying to step around all those vines was less dramatic because they weren't there. The actors were just trying to hit their mark. In other words, tape on the floor. There was no rope or anything standing in for the vines, so when Robin was strung up against the wall, Maya was just having to hold her arms in the air for a very long time. Joe broke the freaking camera during one take because he had to swing an axe close to it, but accidentally struck it.
Went directly into camera.
Like through this filter into the front, and the shot was amazing.
Number 3. Did you know that the voice of Vecna is all real? Don't believe us? Just check out Jamie Campbell Bower in the recording booth.
I saw a means to realize my potential.
Unlike how Dacre Montgomery had his voice altered and changed, adding a little unsettling and ominous tone when he was taken over by the Mind Flayer,
Now we can all see.
Jamie's voice was all his.
To transcend my human form.
There was no need for Jamie to transcend his human form.
All I needed was someone to open the door, and he did that for me.
Number 4. Thanks to extra time, we got a ton of Eddie. Joseph Quinn knows his way around a guitar, but they did have another guitarist come in and do that epic solo regardless. Eddie Munson's fate wasn't always tied to his guitar, but as they talked about his ending, it became clear it's what they needed to do. They were able to go back to earlier episodes because none of them had been shot yet.
And layer in the guitar, layer in his band.
Usually they write about 4 scripts and are already shooting as the next chunk of scripts are being written. Joseph Quinn was pretty gutted when he found out they were quite literally gutting his character, but it was one epic send-off, and he couldn't really be mad about that.
The most surprising or surreal part of the fan experience.
Number 5. What seemed like a simple shot still took a very long time. Matt Duffer said, "We were very much inspired by Empire Strikes Back, that ending where they're looking out the window. We wanted to hint at the notion of war and a supernatural war coming to Hawkins. The cast and crew spent an entire super hot day out there just to get this one shot."
The most exhausting thing, but doing it together was the best.
Number 6. We know what you're thinking. Types on their head was the goal. The writer's room really enjoyed taking characters and then doing role reversals, playing against the stereotypes, humanizing people like Eddie Munson and Chrissy.
You don't remember me?
I'm sorry.
Of course, this has been going on since season 1. The actors are really grateful for this as well, because it has led to such interesting and dynamic characters.
We're the freaks because we like to play a fantasy game.
Number 8. Honestly, we might have just turned the TV off if they did in Max for Good. They had a ton of discussions about what they wanted to do, but it became very important for season 5 that Max be in a coma. This season was influenced heavily by Empire Strikes Back, of course, and so Max's coma was an attempted parallel to Han Solo being frozen in carbonite. Do you think that came across at all?
I'm here, Max.
Number 9. Sometimes the nonsensical offing of characters' heads just isn't necessary. The Russian double-crosser Enzo almost met a tragic fate in a previous draft of the script, but honestly, there was no reason for it. It didn't move the plot along, so why not give this guy his happy ending too? And more Star Wars references. The demobats were inspired by the parasitic Minok bats in The Empire Strikes Back. In an earlier draft, the demobats had serrated tail tentacles that were meant to wrap and then cut flesh. If they had this trait, they could have too easily killed Steve. Another design was way too similar to the Demodogs and Demogorgons because its head and body split open the same way.
I really like that stuff, and as the show has gone on, I've gotten to do more and more of it.
Number 10. Crafting the big baddie is always time-consuming work. Vecna went through a ton of different concept art. The first design to haunt your nightmares is the one of him with hair and a pathetic excuse for a face. You can see the evolution of one idea from the initial fish inspiration to giving him a spiky coat of armor. The praying mantis design is awesome, but it wasn't exactly a practical design for filming either because of its long legs. And the Duffer brothers were really leaning towards Vecna being practical. The alien designs were direct inspiration from the Demogorgons and Demodogs, and would have tied him in aesthetically with the rest of the upside-down creatures. These designs, while amazing in theory, just didn't disguise Henry well enough or didn't allow for enough expression.
Move my fingers around really slow. I'm moving them fast now because I'm excited.
Number 11. Floating rocks. It's too complicated. At one point, the particles were going to be harvested from floating rocks. It had a lot to do with how gravity worked differently in this realm, but it was too lengthy to try and explain.
Would you like to join them?
Probably the coolest alternate design for Vecna's lair was a later one, more in line with the spider theme, where his victims were hanging from the vine like it was a spider web.
You could not change us.
Number 12. It's got to be a great feeling when some of the greats want to work with you. Robert Englund sent in an audition tape of himself lying in a bathtub, fully clothed, mind you, pouring his heart out. So no, it wasn't the Stranger Things team's idea to bring in Freddy Krueger, but it was